Guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about motivation for medical coding students and medical coders. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue, I'm a medical coder. Okay guys, so I often get this comment of, Blue, I feel like I'm trying to learn all these things in medical coding and I'm not retaining anything. I feel like a failure, I feel like I'm never gonna get this, what do I do? I say this all the time, guys. We have to know what doctors know while never having gone to medical school. And just the fact that you get your certification and the fact that you get a job, it doesn't necessarily mean that you even understand it either, right? That you're magically going to wake up understanding it. Because there are veteran medical coders who don't understand a lot of things too. And what happens is veteran medical coders tend to hide this though. And the problem is our culture. Medical coders don't want to have to share, hey, I don't understand something. There's a lot of them that don't want to do that. And there's a lot of them that have to work on their communication skills to be able to express that because they don't know how. And then there are others that, they don't want to admit it in front of a certain person and ego gets in the way. And that's something in our culture, I think, that really does need to change, along with a lot of other things like, being able to hire brand new medical coders right out of the gate and that kind of thing. But that's a whole different episode. So I shared a very good, I find it very good, meme that I saw on LinkedIn. I shared it on my LinkedIn. And then I got a really good comment from a viewer. And I think that both of these kind of speak to what this episode is about. So here we go. The meme says, your attitude towards failure determines your altitude after failure. Your attitude towards failure determines your altitude after failure. So let that sink in for a second. Now, here's the comment that I wanted to read. She says, awesome pep talk about confidence. After earning a CPCA 4 years ago, I went to an AAPC meeting just to check it out and network. With no experience, someone offered me a job on the spot. I felt like an imposter, so I went back to being a CNA. Now at 56, I'm giving it another shot, working much harder on my knowledge, skills, and speed at this time, and hoping, as Wang says, confidence will follow. So here's the thing. A lot of times people will run from things that make them feel uncomfortable, right? We all tend to not want to feel those uncomfortable feelings. And so the second we start to feel them, we feel inadequate or we feel like we're incompetent because we don't know, and we're just gonna run from that because we don't like to feel stupid. No one likes to feel stupid. Well, here's the thing, guys. How are you ever gonna learn if you don't face those things head on? And when you do, when you take the time to say, okay, well, I didn't get this. Make a list of the things that you don't get, okay? Make a list of the things that you don't get. Make a list of the things that you do get. So if you are in your medical coding program and you're going along and you have on this list, okay, well, I get medical terminology because I've been studying the prefixes, the suffixes, and the root words so that I could piece the words together instead of trying to build on all these big words and trying to memorize them, because that's really a waste of your time. If you can build together the small parts of the words, you can put it all together and it makes more sense more quickly. And you'll be able to understand a lot of different words, just knowing the prefixes, the suffixes, and the root words. So when you do that, okay, I understand medical terminology. What about anatomy? Oh, okay, well, I kind of get anatomy. So because I understand the bones, I know what the bones are, I know the organ systems, and I know basically those things. I know the organ systems, the muscles, and I can identify those and where they are in the body. So at least those three things so that you can get started. So if you got that down, okay, add it to the things that you do know. So add a whole list of things that you don't know. And as you are going through your program, you're going to start to understand more of these things. So you can start crossing them off on that I don't know list and putting it onto the I do know list. Now, I talk about making a list because it's going to visualize, put things into visual perspective. Because a lot of times when we get discouraged and we're not motivated, it's because we're thinking all of these things. And when you think all of these things, your head starts to get cluttered with all of these thoughts of like, I'll never make it, I don't understand, I'm confused, I don't know. Talk about what you do know. What do you know? So you could put that on your list and you could start to see that list. Okay, I've got a few things here. I know about HIPAA, I know about, I know how to look things up in the book, in the ICD-10-CM book. I know how to look things up in the CPT book. I know how to look things up in the HCPCS book, or even the ICD-10-PCS if you're studying on the inpatient side. But the things that I don't know how to find combination codes. I don't know how to level E&M. I don't know how to, and you can start to make that list. And again, as you are crossing those things off, they go back onto the things that you do know, so that you can start to build that confidence. But you need to see where your confidence lies first, right? So again, making that list where you can see it can really help you. But it's all about getting out of your comfort zone. Yes, there's going to be things that you're not going to understand. There's going to be things that are going to make you feel inadequate. There are two types of incompetence, right? There is conscious incompetence and there is unconscious incompetence, right? So you're unconsciously incompetent when you think you know everything. When you think you know everything, but yet you don't, because like you'll see in the industry where people will point out, well, that's not right, or this is not right, or whatever, right? People who do know will point that out to people who are unconsciously incompetent. If you are consciously incompetent, it means you know that you do not know. You know that you do not know, and you know you need to work on those things to improve them. Knowledge is power. I've said it many times on my channel. Knowledge is power. The more that you study and the more that you're going to feel those uncomfortable feelings like, I don't get this, I hate this, I don't understand this. And the more you face it head on, the more you're like, okay, yeah, then now that makes sense. It makes sense now, okay. And I'll give you guys an example about myself. When I was studying the PCS portion, last year I took 2 certification exams. I took the CCSP and the CCS. So CCSP first. I got that one out of the way. That says I've mastered the outpatient setting. Great. Now I had my sights set on that CCS. Now CCS is the gold standard of medical coding credentials. That is the only medical coding credential that you need. And but this says that you have mastered inpatient and outpatient coding. Well, my problem is, yes, while I have had many years of experience on the outpatient side, I have not had practical experience on the inpatient side. So I knew that I had to study and buckle down so that I could understand, right? But how do I do that? So what I did was I ran from PCS for the longest time. When we were being trained before the cutover in 2015, when ICD-10-CM and ICD-10-PCS went into effect in October of 2015, we were being trained for a couple of years prior to the implementation. And so at that time, when I was having ICD-10-PCS explained to me, I didn't get it. I didn't get it so bad to the point where I'm like, I don't need this. I'm going to be on the outpatient side. What the heck do I need the inpatient side for, right? Because I had already taken the CCA exam, which had been, again, in 2008. And so I had the ICD-9 inpatient coding there, but I just didn't know about PCS part, right? So I ran from it for many years. I ran from it. I was like, well, I don't need it. I have my credential. Why am I going to need this? So 2020 hit. Things started to change and things started to shift in the background, right? And so I was like, okay, you know what? I really do need to start to change things up. So that was why I made the goal of getting the CCSP. And then when I did get it and I passed, I was like, okay, now it's time to face this bull head on. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take the CCS exam. And so I was like, okay, I got to go to that PCS part, right? I got to go to that PCS part. And how did I do it? How did I finally say, you know what, I've had enough of this. I've had enough of not understanding you. I actually picked up the book. I opened it and I started flipping the pages. I'm like, you're not going to scare me anymore. And this is what I would tell the PCS book. You're not going to scare me anymore. I'm not running from you anymore. I'm going to understand this. So in the back of the PCS book that I have, which is from Optum 360, not an ad for Optum, but I love Optum. I believe in their books. I trust their books. In the back, in Appendix M, there's a list of all of the codes that you can look up. And the Appendix N is where they have all the answers and some of the rationale as to how they got those answers. So I started to work through it because I said, that's the only way I'm going to be able to get this, is if I actually go through that pain of like, I don't understand this. And to me, it's like going through brush and getting scratched up, because, and you're sitting there and you got all these scratches all over you and your skin stings, and that's the way that it feels. To me, that's the way that it feels when I don't understand something. I physically feel it when I don't understand something. And so rather than running from it, I said, no, I am going to get this. So the first few quiz things that I did in the PCS book, I didn't get right. I didn't get the approach right. I didn't get the body system right. I was like, what the heck is this? I'm like, how am I going to understand this? So I went back to the basics and I said, okay, I'm going to start looking at the book again. I'm going to start trying to understand this again. And I started to work through those problems even more. And as I did, I started to understand it. So then my confidence started to build. The first one that I got right in that section of the book, you would think I was winning the lottery, because I was so excited. I was like, because I got it. And I was like, okay, I got it. And so then I would go through the next one, and then I would get that one. And then I would go to the next one, and maybe I didn't get that one. And I'm like, man, how did I not get this one? And the ones that I didn't quite understand, I was like, well, I would look at the answer and I would kind of reverse in how I would look it up. Okay, so I would look at the answer and I would go to the answer and I would look it up in the table. How did we arrive to that? And I would try to associate those things. And so that was how it was able to help me to better understand. Now I am more fluent in it. I passed the CCS on the first try, and that was the thing. So it took a lot of like having to go through those uncomfortable feelings. And again, I see so many people that want to run away from those uncomfortable feelings. This woman had a wonderful opportunity. Somebody gave it to her. Somebody gave her this opportunity, this chance, in which if you're brand new out there and you're trying to find a job, you know how important this is. And she ran from it because she felt like an imposter. But she had came from a CNA background, so she had medical background. And why she ran from it, I don't know. But again, there are some people that it's just so overwhelming that they're like, well, no, maybe this isn't for me. But it's calling her back because, again, it's 4 years later and she's going back to it like, you know what, maybe I should have stuck with it. So don't have that regret, guys, and just stick with it. Stick with going through those uncomfortable feelings. You have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. I say that a lot of times because, again, we're always, as a society, we're always trying to run from things that make us uncomfortable. And you don't want to do that. Not in a career field that you know, or you should know, that is going to take some time to establish yourself in. That's just the way that it is. It's not impossible to get a job. I mean, as that lady had, pointed out, she was able to be offered a job. And had she just went through a little bit more discomfort, she would have been fine. But she ran from it, and so, now that it's called her back, now she knows. She understands it now. And so that's the thing, guys. You have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable feeling. Your life is what you're going to make of it. Literally. It is literally what you make of it. And if you insist on always running from things that feel uncomfortable, you don't like this, or I tried it and I just didn't like it. You tried it, you didn't like it. Probably you didn't give yourself a chance to adjust to it. And there's an adjustment period. I mean, again, I didn't find my aha moment. I didn't discover that this was a passion until 6 years into my career. 6 years. So not too long ago that I finally I get it. Because before it was just a job, and now it is a career to me. A job is where you go, 9 to 5, collect a check and go home. To me, it's so much more than that. It's bigger than that. And medical coding has seen me through a lot of times in my life, that there was a lot of change. And so this has been the constant that I've had. And that's probably partial of the draw. The other part of it is the constant learning. I'm always challenged, and I like to be challenged. I don't like things to be, oh, hum ho. You know what I mean? I don't like that. I like things to be challenging. I like to have, okay, this is something new. You know, this is something, this is going to be a challenge. This is going to be a change. This is going to be something different. Because other than that, you're going to be living stagnant. You know, there's no creativity in stagnation, right? And when you're doing the same thing over and over again, you know, where do you grow from there? And it's all about growth. And some people say, well, you know, the time for fun in your life is when you retire. You know, and for some, that is true, right? Because they do very well on investing, and then they're able to retire and they can go and travel and do the world and do all those things that are fun, and they don't have to have a boss over them, and they still get paid, and that's wonderful, right? But think about this, you know, sometimes, you know, people just get to retirement and they're so bored. They actually miss the action. And instead of enjoying their journey, they were complaining about it the whole time until they got to retirement, and now they're at retirement, and now they're bored out of their mind because now they have nothing to do. They have no creativity to be able to think about those things. You can have creativity in any field that you're in, really. But in something as intellectual as medical coding, this is something that, I mean, you know, it is, you can be pretty creative with it. You can be creative in your approach to learning. You can be creative in your approach to how you communicate with your providers. You can be creative in the things that you want to do with your career. There's a lot of places you can go once you've been in the career field for a time, and once you've had time to learn and understand what these things are. You know, sometimes people will start in this field with a degree, not knowing that all you really need is a certification to start. And you can make equal to, or just as much as, or even more sometimes than a degree holder. Really depends on what you're doing. And for those of you that are shocked about that, it's true. I've seen plenty of places where, you know, they pay their degree holders the same as they pay their medical coders. And sometimes the medical coders make more. Because again, the concentration of those degree programs is about leadership and managing people. It's not about medical coding. So if you are working as a medical coder with a degree, you're technically working under your ability, because your ability says with this degree that you can manage people. But that's not what some people want. And sometimes they're just sold this degree. And so not knowing, you know, so again, it really all depends on where you are. But the whole thing about today's message is not to run. Don't run from just a challenge, just because it challenges you a little bit, just because you feel a little uncomfortable. Don't run from it, because that's the worst thing, is to have that regret of like, wow, I shouldn't have ran. Do I regret being this far into my career and just now getting the CCS and CCSP? No, I don't, because I was advocating for the CCA for a long time, and that was my whole goal. But there comes a point in time where that has to be put to bed so that I can move on and move forward and be able to do more things with a higher credential, higher, you know, designation. When the time comes, I will be able to do more with that than I did as a CCA. But for the time that I was a CCA, I changed a lot of hearts and minds. And I think that that's very important when you have that credential, because a lot of people are ignorant to that credential. And they say, oh, you can't. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And trust me, I've done very well with that credential. But that is my message for today, is don't run, and don't shy away from things that challenge you. Even if you are a shy person and the thought of communicating with these alpha personalities is very scary to you, there's plenty of ways to get training, to be able to be a confident speaker and to be a confident leader. Everybody has the ability to be a leader as well. You don't have to be in a leadership position to be a leader. I am not in a leadership position, but I know that I'm a leader because of the things that I've done and just the results around me. So, you know, there is a difference there. You know, when you know and you get it, you get it. But that's my message for today. Stick with it, guys. Don't run from it. If you don't understand it, reach out, find a mentor, find a tutor. And this goes for veteran coders as well, because some of you veteran coders, and you know better, you know that you can benefit from having a tutor as well. There's nothing wrong with it. There is no harm in it. There's no shame in not knowing. There's going to be a time when you may be called to switch a specialty, and this is something that you've never done before. If you find yourself not being able to grasp it or understand it with your own research, reach out and find a mentor, find a tutor, somebody who can help you and guide you, because that's a heck of a lot better than just sitting there kind of doggy paddling around, not really knowing what to do. Okay, guys, it's not like that. You have to be able to speak up. And when you speak up, there is no limit to what you can do. A lot of you limit yourselves literally by your own thoughts saying, oh, I can't do it. Yes, you can. You absolutely can. Well, Blue, I don't understand. Reach out and find a way to understand. Well, Blue, I can't. Never say you can't, because yes, you can. When you really want something, you'll find a way. You'll make a way. But until you start to do that, you're going to stay in the same spot. I'm just saying. All right. I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Please like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.